The Curse of Generosity, How One Good Deed Ruined Her Children's Future. The sun rose slowly over the rolling hills of Nkayi, a small village cradled in the heart of Zimbabwe's countryside. A pale golden light filtered through the morning mist, casting soft shadows on the red earth. The air was cool and fresh, carrying the faint scent of wildflowers and damp soil. Roosters crowed from every corner of the village, their calls echoing off distant hills. Women gathered quietly at the riverbank, their hands moving rhythmically as they scrubbed clothes against smooth stones. Their soft voices whispered village news and prayers to the ancestors. Nearby children ran barefoot across the grass, their laughter like bright bird song, carefree and innocent. In the midst of this peaceful scene, Nomsa stepped cautiously, her worn sandals stirring small clouds of dust. Her hands were rough, marked by years of labor on the land, and her face showed the faint lines of worry. But her eyes held a stubborn warmth, a quiet kindness that had earned her the love of the villagers. Nomsa was a widow raising 3 children on a small, struggling farm. The rains had been scarce this year, and hunger gnawed at the edges of her household. Yet she clung to hope, like the fragile flame of a candle flickering in the wind. For her children's sake, she would endure anything. As the sun dipped low and painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, Sikanyisiwe approached Nomsa's hut. Her face was pale and drawn, her clothes dusty from long days of hardship. Her eyes, once bright, now carried the heavy weight of worry. "Nomsa," she said softly, her voice trembling with desperation. "My children are hungry. I have no maize, no money for medicine. Please, lend me some money. Just enough to buy food and help them heal. I promise I will repay you." Nomsa's heart ached at the sight of her old friend in such need. She knew the pain of poverty all too well. Yet her own means were limited. School fees for her children loomed on the horizon, and there was little left to spare. Still, generosity bloomed in her heart like a rare flower. "Take this," Nomsa said, pulling out the small bundle of coins she had saved. "But promise me, Sikanyisiwe, you will repay me. Our friendship depends on trust." Sikanyisiwe nodded, a faint smile crossing her lips. But as the shadows deepened around them, an unseen chill crept behind her eyes, a darkness hidden from the day's light. Days passed, yet the money never returned to Nomsa's hands. What unsettled her more were the whispers that began to spread like wildfire through Nkayi. Some villagers claimed Nomsa had used witchcraft to compel Sikanyisiwe to accept the loan. Others murmured that Nomsa's kindness was a cunning disguise, hiding secrets best left unspoken. The once warm and welcoming village grew cold. Neighbors avoided Nomsa's gaze, their smiles strained and uneasy. Even the church elders cast furtive looks her way, speaking in hushed tones of spiritual battles and unseen evils. Then came the strange misfortunes. Nomsa's crops, once green and promising, withered inexplicably beneath the harsh sun. Goats died without cause, their lifeless bodies found scattered near the fence. At night, eerie noises surrounded her hut, moaning winds scratching at the walls. But when she opened her door, no one was there. Her heart tightened with fear. The village's eyes were no longer of support. They were full of suspicion, even blame. The darkness crept further still. Nomsa's children, once lively and full of laughter, began to suffer. The youngest, a fragile baby named Thulani, cried out in terror during the dead of night, staring at shadows that danced unseen by others. The middle child, Nandi, refused to eat, eyes wide and hollow, as if haunted by some invisible force. And the eldest, Makululi, wandered away at dusk, chasing phantom shapes into the edge of the dense forest. Nomsa's spirit broke a little more each day as she watched her family unravel. In desperation, she sought out the village's traditional healers, Gogo Thandi and her daughters, women steeped in ancient knowledge of herbs and spirits. They examined the children, their faces grave. "A curse has been placed upon your family," Gogo Thandi murmured, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and respect. "Someone jealous, someone angry, has turned the dark arts against you." Nomsa's heart shattered at the truth. How could kindness lead to such hatred? One night, under a sky cloaked in heavy clouds, Nomsa took a bold step. She followed Sikanyisiwe into the forest, her footsteps silent on the soft earth. Deeper and deeper she went until she found them. a small clearing lit by flickering flames. There, Sikanyasiwe knelt before a fire, her lips moving in low, eerie chants. Beside her stood a witch doctor, his neck adorned with bones and feathers, his eyes cold and merciless. "Make her children suffer," Sikanyasiwe whispered fiercely. "So she understands that debts unpaid must be punished." Nomsa's breath caught in her throat. The friend she had trusted, the one she had helped in her darkest hour, was the very one orchestrating her ruin. When Nomsa confronted Sikanyasiwe, she expected anger, sorrow, maybe even repentance. But the village reacted differently. Instead of believing Nomsa, they turned against her. Accusations flew like spears. She was a liar, a witch herself, bringing evil upon the community. The church elders refused to offer comfort or aid, instructing her instead to pray harder, to seek forgiveness for sins unknown. Her pleas were met with cold silence or judgmental stares. Abandoned, Nomsa returned to her hut, now a prison of silence and sorrow. Even the wind seemed to avoid her home. Time passed, and the curse deepened. One fateful evening, as the sun sank beneath the horizon, Mukululi, her eldest, disappeared into the forest. Despite frantic searching, he was never found. Some villagers whispered that the forest had claimed him, that the curse had taken its final toll. Her remaining children bore the heavy burden of suspicion and fear. They were outcasts, shadows of their former selves. The story of Nomsa's generosity and the bitter price she paid lived on in hushed voices and wary eyes. It became a warning, a tale told by firesides to remind all that kindness can awaken envy, and envy can bring ruin far worse than poverty. To this day in Nkayi, no one forgets the story of Nomsa. It is told in sorrow and caution, a lesson carved deep into the village's memory. Generosity, the elders say, is a gift, but it must be guarded. For sometimes a good deed is repaid not with thanks, but with a curse that lingers beyond a lifetime. And so the curse of generosity remains, a haunting reminder that even the purest kindness can unleash shadows that destroy the soul. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more African suspense stories filled with betrayal, witchcraft, and shocking twists. Your support helps us bring more untold stories to life.